This is the statistics calculator set A worksheet. So let's have a look at what the worksheet looks like. This is what you should be seeing as you do it. And let's just get the pen up. Okay, so looking at the very first question, it says the table shows information about the heights of 60 students. The question tells us that number, 60 students, so that's something to really be aware of. What that means is that the total frequency is going to add up to 60. Always put this in. The keywords that you're looking for in this type of question is estimated mean. Estimated mean basically means I need to work out the midpoints and also work out the midpoints times frequency. The midpoints of each of the group is the halfway point in each of the groups. So that's going to be 145, 155, 165, and so on. I need to do midpoints, so these midpoints that I've just found, times the frequency. Put a time sign here just to remind you what you're doing, and take your time as you're doing these with your calculator. Work them out. Maybe do it twice to make sure you've actually not made a mistake at all here. The calculator is going to do all the hard work, so make sure you do it properly. Then you're going to add up these values, the total midpoint times frequency. Your final answer is going to be the total midpoint times frequency, this one here, 10,080, divided by 60, and I've got an answer of 168. Very likely you're going to get a question of this type. Make sure you understand it, and as I said, the keywords you're looking for is the fact that it says estimated mean, right? Make sure you're actually aware of that. A lot of you know how to do a stem and leaf diagram. However, don't be overly confident. Do take your time. Always make sure you put a key. Yep, always make sure you put a key. You get a mark for that. Identify the biggest and the smallest value and then do your stem. And then as you go through the values, tick them off. So I know the smallest value is 17. So I'm going to tick these off as I go along and then put them all in. At the end, make sure you've ticked off all the values and then count the number of leaves you have. These are the numbers on this side here. There should be 14 of them. Okay, to find the median, I showed you all a rule. There are 14 values, and the rule is always however many values there are, in this case 14, always add 1 and then divide by 2. 14 add 1 is 15, divided by 2 is 7.5, 7.5. So I need to find out which term or what value is the 7.5 value. So if I count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the 7.5 value is going to be between 20 and 21. What number is between 20 and 21? 20.5. And there's my median. Okay, make sure you know how to do that and make sure you're totally okay with it. Question 4, drawing the box plot. You should be pretty okay with this. Drawing the 5 lines first, the lowest value is 20, right? So I've done that. The median is 70, so I've put that in. Read the scale and make sure you do understand the scale completely. In this case, the highest value is 110. That's over here. Okay, I've put in the upper quartile, 80. The lower quartile, 50. And there's the highest value, 110. So there are all the values. I've ticked them off, I've done them. Now I'm going to do my whiskers and my box. And there's my box plot. It doesn't need to be that fat or take up the whole width, but make sure you use a ruler and pencil as you're doing it. In this particular question, it says a box plot above shows the marks in a test. What percentage of students got less than 50 marks? Now, just to remind you, right, that there is your 0% at the start. Your lower quartile is your first 25%, your first quarter. Your median is your 50%. Remember, it's halfway. Your upper quartile is your 70% or 75%, and then your highest value obviously is your 100%. So in this case here, what percentage of students got less than 50 marks? So if I look at this, 50 marks is over there, so my answer is 25%. Okay, number 6 and 7 are definitions that you definitely need to know. So explain what is meant by a random sample. A random sample is a sample where each member of the population has an equal chance of selection. You need to know that and commit that to memory. In question 7, explain what is meant by stratified random sampling. Stratified random sampling is a sample where all the subgroups which make up the population are in the same proportion in the sample. So the key words there is the fact that the subgroups are in the same proportion. subgroups are in the same proportion as in the sample. Make sure you know and really commit this to memory, both of these definitions. Question 8. The table shows the number of students studying languages at a school. A stratified sample. Okay, so there's my keyword words, and there is what tells me what I need to do in this particular question. So by just seeing stratified sample, I know I need to use the acronym now, new over old times what you want. The new value is this sample of 70. The old is how much they are altogether, so I need to add them all up, and you can use your calculator to do that. I'm getting 650 when I add them all up. And what do I want? So calculate the number of students studying Greek. So it's the 145. So this is what I'm going to do. New 70 over old 650 times what I want 145. So you need to identify those three numbers. This will be on the calculator paper. Work it out. This needs to be changed though, right? This is what I get on my calculator. I can't leave that as my answer because we're talking about people here. You need to round it to the nearest whole number, so my answer is going to be 16 students. Right? This is a very common type question. Very likely you'll get it on the calculator paper. Make sure you know how to do it and you can get all the marks in it. Question 9. This is another very popular question on the calculator paper. The question basically, it will be one question, and the aim of the question will be to draw a histogram. Okay, so be very careful and be very prepared to be able to do this and get full marks drawing a histogram. So, first thing that you definitely need to remember is that frequency density is equal to frequency divided by class width. This needs to be in your mind, committed to memory. Let's find the class widths first. The class widths is the size of each of the classes. Basically, the bigger number taken with a smaller number. That tells you the size. So 2 taken with 0 is 2, and so on. 4 taken with 2 is 2. 8 taken with 4 is 4. 16 taken with 8 is 8. 20 taken with 16 is 4. So these are all my class widths. Remember, now I want to work out frequency density, and frequency density is frequency divided by class width. So these are my frequencies here. My first frequency is 7. The class width is 2. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 18 divided by 4 is 4.5. 20 divided by 8 is 3. And 10 divided by 4 is 2.5. Okay, what I need to do now is to label up my graph. So I'm going to do question 10 and I'm going to do my histogram. The vertical axis is always frequency density. Make sure you label that up. And we're dealing with heights here, so I'm going to put height on the other axis. On the other axis, the heights go up from 0 to 20. So the first thing I'm going to do is put some markers down and see if I can actually work my way up to 20. I always put the markers first and then add the numbers. And I've noticed here that if I go up in 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, I've gone all the way up to 20. The vertical axis goes to a biggest value of 7. So I need to label this axis so it goes up to 7. And as I try this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I can fit 8 over there. We'll definitely be able to do the 7. This is now, a histogram is a bar chart, but the bars are going to be different widths. The first bar is going to be from 0 to 2. You see that from the class width there. And it's going to go all the way up to 3.5. My second bar is going to be from 2 to 4, and it's going to go all the way up to 7. Third bar is going to go from 4 to 8 this time, so be careful with that. 4 to 8, and it's going to go all the way up to 4.5. Yep. Then 8 to 16, be very careful with that, and that goes all the way up to 3. And 16 to 20, and that goes all the way up to 2.5. You need to be very precise with this. Use the scale carefully. Make sure you label it up as you go along. Very likely you'll get a question of this type on your calculator paper. Make sure you understand it. Go back, have a look at the others before you try set B. Make sure you understand this fully.